Please use the chat bot to make sure that you type in your questions, and we'll get to those questions. There's going to be a few poll questions. Just go ahead and answer them directly in the poll questions box, and we'll send you a copy of the recording in a few days via email. So let me go ahead and get us over to the presentation, and I'll share my screen. Give me 1 minute. Here we go. So are you seeing my screen there, Sahil?
Yes, I can.
Perfect. Let me turn my camera back on. For some reason, it turns off.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get started. So again, we didn't introduce ourselves earlier, but my name is Jacqueline Murphy. I'm the Director of Product Marketing. Been with Rentley for a year now, so the year has gone by so fast. But my team's really responsible for developing and crafting the product positioning and messaging for all of our products. We basically oversee all the product launches. We work very closely with our product and our development team to bring solutions and really create awareness to our clients and drive adoption of our products. So that's why we're here. Sahil, over to you.
Hey, everyone. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Jackie. Hey, everyone, I'm Sahil. I've been at Rentley, since 2017, so quite a few years. Since my time, early days, I have juggled many roles here, including setting up our support operations, a couple of other departments, and particularly working on our security tech stack. I work closely with Jackie and the product team to develop new security features, rules, workflows, and at the same time, making sure that we are getting feedback from our clients so that we continue to evolve our security tech stack and make it as adoptable as possible for our clients and also valuable. Because as we know in rental fraud and scam world, scammers are always up for new tactics. So it's all about being 2 steps ahead of them.
For sure. Love that. Okay, hopefully everyone that's on the call today really knows who we are. But for those of you who don't know who we are, Rentley serves many industries in the real estate sector. We provide a multitude of services pertaining to the renter's journey for your marketing of your homes. Our mission really is to provide our property managers, owners, agents with best-in-class automation tools for leasing success. We're primarily known as the leaders in self-guided touring and smart home solutions. So in today's webinar, let's talk about how your company is going to stay ahead of fraud. I'm talking about the impacts of fake landlords, fake property listings, social engineering of fake accounts. You have a vacant property, potentially squatters or vandalism, theft, and even false rental applications. They're all very important types of fraud. And as we mentioned, all of these types of rental fraud can be very costly to your company. Anywhere in the range of $5,000 to $50,000 of revenue can be lost per each of these events. And it also causes the potential renters, most of them lose money. They average about $1,000 per event on the renter side. So in today's security webinar, this is our final security webinar, Deterring Property Squatters and Vandalism. We're going to cover how Rentley clients are relying on our innovative PropTech tools and smart home devices to help prevent squatters, to help prevent break-ins, and even prevent vacant property vandalism. A little intro is like through these advanced security tools, we're able to look at signals and patterns to identify vulnerabilities and the effect on your business operations. What gives this actually gives our clients the ability to continuously review and monitor these potential renters' activity during the whole searching of a home, touring your property, coming back, filling out applications, etc. And we will assign risk scores to this kind of behavior, so that way we can provide you with the dynamics of how these risk scores change over time. So then you can say, oh, yep, this guy's a potential fraudster. Oh, no, this person's good, and go from there. So again, as we mentioned, Rentley's really committed to helping our clients combat scams and safeguard their properties. So today we're going to give you some real world examples too. So here, I think this is really important to know. You guys probably already all know this. The FTC reported in 2023 that there was 10,000 rental scam cases. So that's huge. And if you aren't already having impacts of rental fraud on your properties, it could be coming. So I'm glad you're here because you're going to learn some great tips to help deter that. Um, there was a 45% increase in rental scams over the past 2 years, according to the BBB. And then, according to the National Association of Realtors, there's been about 5.2 million renters have encountered some sort of fraudulent listing or some kind of rental scam, maybe even a fake person trying to be a fake landlord or trying to play themselves off as a landlord and getting money from them. That's really the goal. And then the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center has received in over 13,000 complaints. So it's definitely a problem. And this is where I'm going to turn it over to this poll question so we can understand where we are at today with our audience of what kind of fraud has been impacting your company in the last 2 years. So the poll there is there to the bottom of your screen. Have you had fake landlord scams, fake renter identities, false application documents? Are they, faking a pay stub, whatever? Squatters or trespassers in your vacant properties? Have you had vandalism at some of those vacant properties or anything else? So we'll give the results here in a few minutes, and then I'll turn it over to Sahil to give us the results in a sec. So it looks like a couple more are coming in. How are we looking there, Sahil?
Yeah, we should maybe give another minute for our participants to put in their votes. So a few are coming in right now. So we'll just wait for another minute. We'll let you all know the results.
And I think what the results of this are going to show is we know rental fraud is getting worse. And again, relying on these valuable prop tech tools, and we have free prop tech tools for security, and then we have some that are paid. So again, whatever types of fraud you have, we probably have a solution already built out for you. So again, that's why we're here. We want to talk about it.
Yeah, Jackie, I think we should move forward with the results here. What I'm seeing on my side right now is 33% of the participants chose yes, fake landlord scams, and the rest 67% chose yes, fake application documents. So that's really good feedback for us. I think for Jackie and I, we have actually spoken with a lot of our clients that have identified other categories as well, but it's always good to get some live feedback in a webinar from folks like you to let us know what you're experiencing in your area. Again, with these scams being so complex, sophisticated, sometimes different markets are experiencing different types of scams. For example, our Atlanta market is experiencing a high volume of trespasser and squatter cases, whereas other markets could be experiencing the feedback that you have given us here, such as fake landlord scams, which I think a lot of our markets experience that, a lot of our clients experience that, and an application document, that's something that's been an ongoing scam for a very long time for anyone who has been involved in the real estate business.
For sure. Well, great results. Great results. Let me go ahead and turn it over to you, Sahil, and we can get started.
Yeah, absolutely. So, really quickly, I before we get into solutions and what type of technology is available to be adopted to your needs and type of trends that you're seeing in your market, and things like that, I think I really wanted to, on a high level, talk about the type of trends that we notice in terms of getting feedback from our clients and just generally being part of the real estate industry. So one thing that comes to my mind right off the back is missing key, wired money, identity theft. I think this is something that was as a feedback in our poll question right before this. bait and switch tactics, vandalism, and squatter. Vandalism and squatter, they're pretty self-explanatory. Someone stealing things, appliances at the property. Squatter, which is now being called trespasser, and we'll get into that verbiage a little bit later in the presentation. Someone illegally sort of occupying your property, and they're not supposed to be there. But missing key wired money, identity theft, and bait and switch tactics are very much at the top of the funnel when it comes to lead experience and leads of yours trying to view your properties. Starting with the missing key, if you are having an analog lock with a physical key in it. Sometimes a lot of our clients mention that there's an individual that is instructing them to take the key. I think that is related to our earlier poll question, where some of you mentioned that you see fake landlord scams. And that's where actually it starts off with. We have individuals like scammers in local areas who are contacting gullible users, telling them, hey, believe me, I'm the landlord. Not only am I going to give you a discount on this property, which obviously is a lie, but I will also tell you what to do. And including one thing that I will tell you to do is keep the key and assume that now you have that property, and you've rented it out yourself. Wired money is a really unfortunate case where, people with hard-earned money, giving away their money to individuals that they have never actually met. Those individuals don't even have the local dialect, but they're able to gain this confidence relationship with them and persuade those gullible users to actually go and give their wired money through a wired system. Identity theft, I think that's something that's very, very crucial, and a big scam. We definitely don't want to allow individuals who have fake identity, who are using fake driver's license, other such things like that, who have stolen an identity of their family member or others in general, and using that to manipulate the system. Um, Bait and switch tactic, I think that's something that has kind of evolved over the years, and it has elements of the other types of scams that I mentioned earlier, like wired money and identity theft. And in here, you can basically, attract someone to a property, and if things are not going the way the scammer had thought it would go, they're going to basically change their tactic and tell them. Some of the cases that I've heard is that the scammer would promise the gullible user that, hey, show up at the property, I will go ahead and issue a code for you to conduct a self-guided tour. And once they arrive at the property, now they have traveled for at least 30 minutes to arrive at that property. And once they are there, the scammer tells them, oh, I'm sorry, the system is not working and I'm unable to give you the code. Why don't you go ahead and peek through the window? And if you like the property, go ahead and wire me the money, and this property is now going to be yours. By the way, I'm giving you a discount. So this kind of a tactic change is something that we're seeing on the ground with our clients' feedback that, hey, if things don't work out the way the scammer had thought of, they quickly change their ways and still lure in those gullible users. Yeah, I think this is something I just touched upon earlier as well with the squatter and vandalism. It's very important that we stress on the fact that squatter and vandalism is the highest level of scams that a lot of our clients experience, mainly because it's a huge revenue loss for them. Having individuals go into properties and steal appliances is a big loss on the client. Having squatters stay at the property is a big loss for them, because then the property is off market. It could have been rented out to a good person. It didn't. Now they got to start the process all over again post eviction, right? But one thing also that's very apparent here is that how do we relate, things like squatter and vandalism to public safety. And we wanna create that sense of dialogue and a verbiage change here, mainly because sometimes we engage with our local authority, local government, and they are not able to fully grasp how escalated this situation is. And since they're not able to grasp that situation, they are little disinterested or a little bit more delayed in terms of taking actions to the ones that you would want them to, which is evicting those illegal trespassers at your property. So changing the verbiage and kind of like engaging with your local community about how squatter and vandalism is a part of public safety. If you have individuals who are not supposed to be living at a property and illegally, squatting at a property, that's a huge risk for that whole neighborhood because of the fact that we don't know that individual. That individual did not go through the vetting process. We don't know that individual's credit score. We don't know what their background, what they have done past before squatting at that property. Maybe they're professional squatters. Maybe all they do is go from one house to another. And every time they go to a house, they not only destroy the house, they disrupt the whole environment by inviting other individuals to come visit them or stay with them and other such things like that. So neighborhoods where you have elderly individuals living there, neighborhoods where you have families living there, I think it becomes very, very critical for their public safety that we continue to have this type of a discussion. And I think this will be very fruitful for not only for the property managers, but also for the local authority, for the local government to really finally understand the escalated status of why this is happening, how this is happening, and how can the local authorities help the property managers, vendors like Rently to make sure that they take swift action and we get the eviction going for those illegal trespassers.
And I think
Anything you want to add here, Jackie?
I was just going to say one important point, and maybe I just want to make sure the group understands this is once you have a listing that goes up online, whether you offer self-guided tours or you offer self-guided and agent-led tours, scammers are going to see that, or they're driving around a neighborhood and they see the moving van. They're going to
Mm.
go back to that property in a couple of days. And if they're scammers or they want to trespass, they're going to do that. So what we've done at Rently, we've made sure that, hey, for agent led and for self-guided touring, how can we make sure whoever goes to your property using our technology has been vetted? So again, security is our main priority. We check the identity. We validate the driver's license to make sure it matches your selfie. We check your location to make sure, are you really within an X parameter to the property? Because again, our goal is to prevent fraud before it happens. So we want to know who you are before you arrive at a property. So again, big point to understand that this could happen to a property that's just posted an online listing, even if you don't have self-guided touring turned on, because they saw a moving van, because they saw it online. Any of this kind of fraud can happen. Just want to make
Absolutely.
sure. Cool. Let me move to the next one.
Yeah, so one of the things that could really help our property managers is, what we just did earlier in our slides is talk about the issue. We talked about different types of scams. We talked about how squatter and vandalism should be related to public safety in order to motivate the local authority, But a lot of property managers could be wondering, okay, well, that's great, but what is Rently doing as a vendor to protect our assets? What is Rently doing as a vendor to proactively validate and authenticate users who are going into my properties to make sure that no bad actors, no bad person goes in and destroys the property? Because if we proactively do that at the top of the funnel, then we're actually taking care of that issue, that problem in a much quicker and a much earlier fashion than actually having a reaction when someone is actually squatted at a property and motivating our local authority to go and evict them. So one of the things that we came up with is our fraud risk scoring model, and that's really a very sophisticated technology that we have been developing since 2017. And this model is a machine learning model, and you know that with any machine learning model, there is a foundation period where it needs to learn from the data, it needs to learn from the patterns of the users within our platform who are conducting those kind of risky behaviors. And over the years, through human intervention, through human drivers, prompt engineers, manual reviews, the model starts to learn and starts making decisions on automated decisions on who is a potential risky user within your platform and should not be allowed access to a property all by itself because they could potentially harm the property when they are conducting a self-guided tour. So the risk scoring model, the way it works is that every individual that creates an account to conduct a tour, even if it's an agent showing or a self-guided tour, they will have a risk score attached to them. And as they swim within the platform, and what I mean by that is, show activity of changing their password, changing their email address, logging in, logging out, deleting their account, recreating their account to a certain other extent, which is scheduling and viewing property at a high velocity and then slowing down. Those are all crucial patterns that the risk scoring model looks into to make sure that it's constantly predicting if this user is on the path for good behavior or a bad behavior. And looking at these risk scores, it sets up Rently with success in terms of making sure that we are proactively stopping bad users from going forward with the self-guided tour. I know it's a little bit complex, but it basically gives our property managers an opportunity to look at these risk scores and with the help of Rently, the consultation with Rently, make valuable and strategic decisions on whether an individual is considered risky and they should be allowed with assistance, or they should not be allowed altogether because they're too risky and they have a very risky high risk score in there. So not only is the system stopping individuals where there are IP signals coming from foreign countries, they are changing their phone carriers, resetting passwords. The property managers also have the ability to customize some of the rules within the risk scoring model that will only affect their leads. And I think that's a game changer for a lot of our property managers because, like we mentioned earlier in our webinar, some scams are different in different markets, right? Atlanta is experiencing squatter cases, whereas Memphis, Houston, and Las Vegas could be experiencing wired money and bait and switch kind of a tactic, right? So having the opportunity to kind of pull the levers and customize different rules that will affect your markets differently is truly the most innovative and engaging way to make sure that we are proactively stopping bad actors.
And so I have a quick question on that. For example, I know in our Rently Manager portal, we have a securities settings tab. And in that settings tab, we have a lot of cool features, security tools that are available today. Think about it like pre-screening questions. Like I
Yeah.
asked them, where did you find this listing? Was it on Facebook? Was it on Craigslist? And then you couple this with the fraud risk scoring, then it really becomes a very secure tool. Self-guided tours and super secure, I would say, right?
Exactly. I think there's not one silver bullet that's going to solve your situation, right? Because, like we know, these scammers, especially scammers who are operating from a foreign base, are quite sophisticated and dedicated to make sure that they're using different tactics all the time and making sure they're not developing a pattern. So it's always important to use different layers of security stacked up together to making sure that, hey, I'm doing everything on my side to make sure my assets are protected. I'm working with Rently as a vendor to make sure that proactively we're stopping bad actors. So I agree with you. Yes, absolutely. A combination is the way to go.
Awesome.
Yeah, another way that we have developed our technology that's going to be very useful and has been useful for a lot of our clients, particularly clients who are experiencing high volume of scams. Sometimes we get feedback from our clients that says, hey, in this X market, I believe there is a dedicated scammer that's just attacking all my leads, and I'm experiencing this unique set of scams, right? So in the earlier slide, we talked about the risk scoring model, and how you can utilize the risk scoring model to not only stop bad signals, IP signals, account takeover situations, but also customize a set of rules that are going to be um, proactively mitigating scams in those separate marketplaces where you see a high increase of scams. So think of the risk scoring model as a reactive model that comes into play when a user has successfully created their account, right? Because the model itself is evaluating the user given the account creation attributes, and then further continues to evaluate and reevaluate the user on the amount of activities they are doing, whether it be reset password, the amount of scheduling as opposed to viewing they're doing, and other such things like that. But what happens to users who have already been deemed as a bad actor? Users where you have actually identified them as bad actor, the system has identified them as bad actors, but they're so dedicated that they're finding different ways and different attributes to re-enter the platform. How do we stop proactively those already deemed bad actors to never allow them to re-enter the platform? And that's where fraud clustering really comes into play, because it's really good to make sure that, hey, we are evaluating everyone who is currently within the platform, has a successful account, to make sure that their account doesn't experience account takeover by a scammer, or they themselves are not scammer because now they are having bad patterns. But to make sure that we are two steps ahead of the scammers, we also want to make sure that at account creation, the gates are tight locked for those individuals who have already been deemed as a bad actor. And these bad actors, some cases that I've seen is that, let's say, I'm just going to take Jackie as an example. She had entered the platform, and she was stopped from going any further. And we have that information of Jackie in our system. But later on, Jackie, since she's a dedicated scammer, and sophisticated, is able to have new attributes to create the account. As you know, to create a successful account, you need to have a unique phone number, name, a first and last name, email address, a new password, and other such things like that. We ask you to upload your government ID, your selfie. And since she had done all that, and we have this information about Jackie, next time she tries to re-enter the platform, she's able to acquire another new unique phone number, which is going to be hard for her to do. But since she's so sophisticated and dedicated, she's able to retrieve a new phone number. And last time she used her driver's license, so this time she's using her passport, but she's still using her face to re-enter the platform. So this technology here will be able to detect and pick up the fact that Jackie in the past has had an account within Rently platform and was stopped from going any further, and she's trying to re-enter the platform with new attributes but with the same face, right? So this kind of technology really makes sure that we don't allow those repeated sophisticated bad actors to re-entering, mainly because we don't want those sophisticated dedicated scammers to re-enter and cause a bigger ruckus, and at the same time really concentrate on the users that we currently have in the system to make sure that they are not turning into a bad actor.
And I think too, what's really cool is I think of this is we have a fraud database, meaning all of our millions of potential renters that visit our site will probably see each and every one of your guys' listings at some point. So we protect not only your listings, if they were a bad actor on someone else's listing, we have that information. So it's shared across this big, large database. So we are then protecting our entire listing, our entire client database, basically through this one fraud database is what I guess is my point.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I just want to mention is that, we had a security symposium in Atlanta in March, and one of the feedbacks that we got from our clients is how are we in this together? What are we doing together to really combat scams? And I think this kind of a technology, clustering tag, really helps that, layered in with pre-screening questions that we have, as well as a risk scoring model. And speaking of pre-screening questions, AI voice fraud detection is an elevated version of the pre-screening question, right? Because we have noticed that sometimes, especially with Gen Z and millennial users, people don't like to read. They want to hear things. They want to move fast. They're on the go. We've also discovered that, hey, sometimes the scammer, being so sophisticated, doesn't enter the platform themselves, but results in manipulating those gullible users that we call social engineering scams, to tell them what to do, what not to do, and ultimately believe them once they have access to the property. And one way they go about it is memorizing those pre-screening questions, and telling our gullible users to answer them, manipulate them on answering them in the right way, so that they can go through the system, go through the alerts, and then gain more confidence with that gullible users. So the AI voice fraud is kind of like really attacking that tactic. It's making sure that if you want to turn this on into your market or on your whole portfolio, is that now every lead that's going to your door, instead of reading pre-screening questions which are customizable by they will be getting an AI voice phone call, where they will be asked elevated pre-screening questions, which are again customizable by you. And these questions will be verbal over the phone. It will give them the choices. They will answer. They will pick multiple choices and answer them. And then if they answer correctly, then they will be allowed to move forward. If they answer any of these questions wrong, they are connected to our Rently call center, to a security specialist who's well-versed in the type of questions, well-versed in security, knows exactly which questions you answered wrong, and goes ahead and creates more security awareness with the user. And depending on the client, we either allow them access after they have spoken with the security specialist, or basically not allow them access because they have been influenced by a scammer. But one thing wonderful about this AI voice fraud is not only can it detect which type of questions have already been asked before. So I'll use Jackie as an example. She has made 5 appointments in one day because she has a very strict schedule and she's on the go. She's looking at 5 doors from your portfolio. And every time she goes to a new door, this technology will know that the type of questions Jackie has been asked before and will ask new questions. So the philosophy behind this is to always make sure that we don't allow these scammers to memorize these questions and thus influence those leads to answer in one way or the other. And every time the lead is getting a new set of questions, new set of awareness, to make sure that they continue to stay on the right path. One thing else that's amazing about this technology is that instead of you shuffling and deciding 5 questions in the pre-screening text questions that we have developed that's currently available in the manager portal, the AI voice, since it's elevated, allows you to customize all the way up to 200 questions. So it's a wide bucket range of questions that you can decide. You can also decide which market would get more severe questions and which markets could get more lenient questions. Obviously, you can decide how many of those questions are going to be asked to your lead. So it's really customizable to your need. Like I mentioned, every market has a different set of scams. This allows you to really address those scams in these pre-screening questions. Um, we've talked a lot about identity verification. It's crucial, very, very crucial to make sure you are who you say you are when you create your account. And we basically took it a step further. We do a thorough verification and account creation, asking you to upload your government ID, which is your driver's license or state ID or your passport. We ask you to upload your selfie. If you are having some issues doing so, some people are not so tech savvy or maybe in a bad network area, we allow you 5 chances to upload your ID, 5 chances to upload your selfie to make sure you get those things right. And once you verify that and you enter the platform and start scheduling to go view your property, we notice that between the account creation to the time when you are viewing your property, there could be multiple scenarios where a gullible user could have given access to their account to a scammer by just simply sharing the password, by simply sharing their username and password, right? So those kind of tactics are there that we have noticed, and we really came up with this technology to really tackle that selfie re-verification, identity re-verification, right? So now you can turn this technology on where every time I go to a new door, I have a successful account. The system knows my ID, my selfie. And every time I go to a new door to go conduct self-guided tour or even agent showing, I'm going to be asked to upload a new selfie because we want to make sure Sahil is Sahil throughout his whole journey when he's conducting these tours. So that new selfie will be compared with the original selfie at account creation as well as the picture on the ID. And this kind of a verification experience is done in seconds, I believe under 10 seconds. So it doesn't produce a lot of friction in terms of user experience and delay in user experience for your leads. But at the same time gives you the peace of mind that, hey, if someone has a successful account, that's the person that's going to continue going to door and view my property. And it's not going to be someone else using their account and abusing it and going to my property and maybe eventually disrupting it, stealing things there, and squatting ultimately at your property. So another tactic for you to use to make sure that, hey, it is Sahil is who he says he is before he enters my property, and we're doing everything proactively to stop those bad users who might be using someone else's account. Enhanced ID and selfie goes hand in hand with what I just mentioned about identity authentication. This gives you this ability to elevate your ID checks. As you know, vendor like Rently serves not only small business property managers to all the way to institutional national operators, and it's very important for us to develop technology that's going to be adoptable for all segments of the market, SMB, growth, mid-market to enterprise, what I just mentioned, right? So, but at the same time, some of our clients could be saying, okay, I like your identity and your selfie checks that you have, but it's not enough for me. I need more. I need to control those checks. I need to make sure that certain markets have elevated checks and certain markets don't, because I am experiencing a very high escalated type of a scam in X market, right? So this gives you full control. That's where we were coming from. Like, how do we make sure that our clients not only utilize a lot of our security tech stack from a basic level, but if they feel like having more control on their lead journey, the verification of their lead journey, then we give them those tools to pull those levers, right? So this right here gives you an opportunity. Think of it as one of our clients said it, an ID selfie menu. like, you're in a restaurant, you open that menu, there's a bunch of things in there that I can consult with you to make sure that you're well educated what those checks are and what type of a scam they will be stopping. And then you get to decide that, hey, I want X and Y and Z checks turned on for this market or all my national portfolio to make sure those leads are extra checked before they are allowed to create their account successfully. So it's just basically another amazing customizable way to really make sure that you are in control and that you know the pulse of who's going in and out of your doors.
And I think too, if you're wondering, oh my gosh, how about all these rules? What do I set up? When you work with Rently, we sort of understand your use case. Hey, in market A, I have all of these problems. In market B, I only have this problem. So Sahil and the rest of the security team will identify, oh, this is the solution you guys should try here.
Mhm.
This is the one you should try here. We should make this ID and selfie re-verification time-based. After 30 days, then do a re-selfie verification, depending on, for friction and all that. But again, we work very closely to help identify the best solution for you.
Absolutely. And just going on the path of identity and authentication, one other thing, because we just always want to be dynamic, we want to always give you that flexibility to pick and choose what Jackie was mentioning, that is going to be a game changer and value for you in terms of combating scams. One of the other things that we're super excited about is this AMVA technology. This really takes the identity verification to the ultimate level, to the most top level of verification. What this technology does is that it checks into the DMV database if they have a record of that individual who is signing up to create an account. That's the ultimate check. We make sure that, hey, this technology is used in the right manner. We make sure that this technology comes into play post the ID regular checks so that it doesn't disrupts that flow. One thing amazing about the AMVA check is that it's under the radar. It's undetected. So that means that the user has no idea that they are being checked. They don't have to go through another process, upload their ID again. Their ID that they're being uploaded at account creation, that's going through the regular checks. Once those checks are checked off, then it goes into the AMVA check, which basically checks in the DMV database to see if they have a record there or not. And if they don't have the record, they're not allowed to move forward with an account creation. Again, once you, as a property manager interested in this technology, myself and the security team have a collaborative session where we create an appeal process for those individuals, depending on your approval, as to what to do with those individuals that did not pass this type of a check. But something that we have seen from our clients is that they want to have this control. They want to have this ultimate verification environment to make sure that, hey, everything is kosher. They say who they are. I even checked the DMV database. It cannot get any better than that. Let's go ahead and move forward. And ultimately, that gives you the peace of mind to see that if this individual has been AMVA checked and they end up being an interest to go ahead and rent your property, then you should feel more at peace that this is a good person that you should allow and have them move forward with the application process. Yeah, something I mentioned earlier, there's no silver bullet. There's not one solution that's going to solve everything. It's all about layering these different set of solutions to make sure that you have the most, I don't know if I'm allowed to say, the most badass, most amazing security solution that fits to your needs, that fits to your demands from your owners, trends that you're seeing in your markets, right? And ultimately, what we just showed you earlier is proactive ways to handle bad actor activity and weed them out at the top of the funnel. But there's another element of security when it comes to smart home products. What happens if someone just simply breaks into the window at 1 a.m. and there's no agent showing or self-guided tour time. Everyone is asleep. It's a secure neighborhood, but they know that this is a rental property. No one is there.
They
They
saw no
break in.
lights were on.
Yeah, right. And they then boom, they're in. They start, squatting there, trespassing there, illegally living in there. How do we combat that? That type of behavior. So that's where smart home technology really comes into play. Not only do we provide smart locks with their hubs attached, that's basically able to read how the smart lock is functioning. You can wipe out the code, but we take it a step further. We give you products like sensors, door sensors, window sensors, even indoor cameras, doorbell cameras, all of these things, sirens, which are attached to the sensor activity. You can disarm and arm the sirens and the sensors according to your needs. Maybe you're conducting agent showing or self tour from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. You disarm that, but you arm it again for overnight, right? These are the ways to really make sure that there are no trespassers proactively through the security tech stacks that we just went through. And then ultimately making sure that your assets are protected when someone could be breaking into your property. Jackie, anything you want to add here? I know you also hear a lot of stories from the clients as well.
I think too, I mean, a lot of our clients weren't aware that we offer a full line of access control solutions. So if you have an apartment complex, we have the front gate license plate reader. It's a brand new product we're coming out with. We also have an access panel with intercom that's quite successful, where they would enter a code to get in, but if they're a visitor, they just scan the QR code and now they're connected to, Bill, who is in room or in a apartment 102, and hey, can you give me access? Oh yeah, that's my Whole Foods delivery. I'm going to open the gate for them. So again, a lot of new access control solutions that we've really helped a lot of our clients with addressing security. So I know we talked a lot about getting the renters, but these are solutions not only for preventing vandalism when a property is vacant, but even when the property is rented, smart home is a big, huge help as well.
Absolutely.
And again, we've already sort of talked about the best practices, monitoring vacant assets, making sure that if the doorbell has gone off and then the lock is tampered with, then boom, send someone over. You just got an alert on your manager portal, and you could be there within 10 minutes, maybe even 5 if you're around the corner, and then check out your property. So really looking for those notifications that come to your portal or come to your app that tell you there's been movement or something has changed or a lock was entered or a lock was opened or a smart hub even went offline. So those immediate notifications really help you be proactive. And I'll let you talk about trespasser mitigation.
Yeah, trespasser mitigation is something that's coming very soon. We get feedback from our clients that, hey, your proactive security tech stack is great. You have smart home products, and how do we build that bridge and at the same time create automated workflows? So I think trespasser mitigation report is that answer. How do we make sure that if we're getting the signals where someone had taken the hub offline, where we're getting the signals that there has been sensory activity at a time when the system has been armed, but the sirens have gone off. We create automated workflows to make sure that we take proactive steps, because you might not be available, you might not be online all the time. It might be weekend, it might be off hours, like I mentioned, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., when that activity is happening. No one is awake. But we are here. We're a technology company. We want to make sure that you're still protected. We want to make sure that there's some kind of a system with an algorithm to make sure that, hey, if these events happen, if these technologies have these type of triggers and they go off, take this type of an action and go ahead and protect the asset. We're working with local authorities. We're working with security teams to make sure that, hey, appropriate action is taken place in due time so that we make sure that your assets continue to be protected, even though you might not be available online.
So I think we're here towards the end of our session. We have another poll question, and really just trying to understand what our clients want. What do they want to do? So, in your opinion, what is the most important measure you should implement to prevent rental scams and protect tenants? Again, I know it's being proactive, but check all that apply, or check the ones that you want. So we'll give it another couple minutes and get close to our wrap up here. Again, this has been a great session, Sahil. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jackie. I think this was one of our first sessions together, and
Yes,
hopefully not the last one, because I really like doing the webinar with you.
perfect. Me too. So, in your opinion, what is the most important measure you should implement to prevent rental scams and protect tenants?
We'll give it another minute or half a minute to get some last minute votes in, and then we'll keep moving forward. All right. I believe we have a 50-50 here, Jackie. So half of the folks chose enhanced background checks on prospects. So a lot of things that we just spoke about in our webinar. I hope you all found it fruitful. Obviously, Jackie and I are available to connect with you anytime. And also, the other half picked collaboration with local authorities for proactive enforcement, something that we continue to enhance, continue to build as a community with the vendors as well as the property managers. So, yeah, great feedback here.
Perfect. And I also think that any one of these responses was a perfect answer because just like Sahil mentioned, when you layer on the security to go after the type of fraud, wow, I have fake listings. Someone's trying to pose as my listing. Again, we have a fake listing monitoring solution. Hey, I'm getting too many people that are filling out false rental applications. Okay, well, then you need stricter identity verification at the top of funnel. We're doing that. So the enhanced background check, we've got covered. Stricter verification procedures, we've got that covered. Increased community engagement, that's something that your team on the ground, on the floor need to do, and I'm sure you guys are doing that. So again, what local neighborhood watches are around, get involved in that. Making sure when you do contact local authorities, you tell them that you have a trespasser. You don't have a squatter, because you don't know if they're squatting. You know that they trespassed on your vacant property. Again, you'll have more legal recourse if you approach it in that manner. And again, just trying to give you guys some tips and tricks to be more secure, because we're in this with you, and we want to make sure that, hey, if our clients have an issue to solve, we want to make sure that, hey, we're using our prop tech tools in the best way that we can for you guys. So here's our closing for you, Sahil.
Oh, great. I think just to sum it up, what Jackie was mentioning and what we have been talking in our webinar today as well. Sorry about my notifications being turned on, Jackie. Sorry about that. So really quickly, a very quick recap, robust identity verification measures. We have the AMVA technology. We have enhanced ID and selfie checks. We have selfie re-verification to make sure it is who they say they are when they created the account to when they're actually trying to enter your property. Stringent and customizable pre-screening questions, those elevated AI voice questions where people might be manipulated because the scammer has memorized those pre-screening questions. You get a chance to now have your leads being called. The pool of questions, go from 5 questions to all the way to 100 questions. So it really gives you that opportunity to fully be in control. Access risk levels using ML and other premium security tools, something we touched upon with a risk scoring model and cluster tag model as well. How do we proactively and reactively stop users by gathering the signals that they have when they created the account, looking at the pattern that they are doing when they have entered the platform, from scheduling and viewing and other such things like that, giving you full control to not only have access to those rules and workflows, but actually have a collaborative and consultations space with Rently and security specialists at Rently to customize those rules further that's going to be impactful to your markets. Smart home security surveillance devices for real-time notifications. Something we talked about as well is, hey, proactively we can stop potential renters who are become bad actors at the top of the funnel, but how do we also continue to protect our assets from situations like a break-in in the middle of the night, right? And we can do that. We can help you with that with our smart home suite of products.
And then if you want to email us, here's our email address. You'll get, again, a recording of this, but I'm going to wrap it up to our next session here. Let me turn back on my camera. Sorry. As we close, we're getting here to the top of the hour. I would like for everyone to, if you found this webinar useful and informative, please let us know. Even in the chat box there, let us know what other topics you'd love to hear about. What kind of issues are you guys facing that maybe we didn't cover? We'd love to hear that and just see how we can be your coach, your partners, and make sure that we come to you guys with solutions.
Yeah, again, Jackie, thank you so much for doing this webinar with us. And to everyone who joined this webinar and anyone who might be watching this recorded session in the future, feel free to get in touch with me, Sahil at Rently.com, with Jackie as well. I believe Jackie.m at Rently.com.
It's
So
Jacqueline.Murphy at Rently.com. Sorry, my full name.
Perfect. Yeah. So we're always available. Our security specialists are always available. Our product team obviously is always available to get your feedback, to really consult with you and really get to know new type of scams that you might be seeing in your area, and help you enhance security measures.
Perfect.